Welcome back, guys. We are having another amazing show. This is Real Estate Uncensored. I have the amazing Gene, the evil bald ninja, here co-sitting this show with me. The Johnson face is MIA. He could be DIA or whatever else that thing is. Dead on arrival. DOA.
What is DIA?
I don't know. DIA. Denver International Airport actually is what it stands for. But dead
I
on
thought it
arrival.
meant dead or something.
I think it is. I don't know where the Johnson face is. He has exited stage left, and we have no idea where his whereabouts are. We're just gonna play this by ear and see this is what's gonna happen. But we got a great show today. We got Gene here, and Gene, you just came back from Florida. What were you doing down in Florida?
This is a huge shout out to my girl Monica Shea and her husband Rian Shea, also known as Ryan Shea. She picked up early January and decided she was going to do this thing where she partnered up with the Disney Institute. So the Disney Institute apparently does external training with companies, and they do this 3-day course with executives. Companies will send their executives down there, and she was like, why can't this be done for real estate agents? And fought her way to creating a course down there at the Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, which is probably the coup de grace down there. It's the nicest spot in the joint. Damn. And we went down and learned the customer service, Disney's customer service way.
That's pretty awesome. And they put it back into real estate, right?
Well, so here's how it worked. I was there because she was gracious enough to ask me to come as the real estate quote-unquote expert, quote-unquote marketing expert, let's say. Mm-hmm. And each day I was able to we got an hour after the class was done. So the Disney Institute instructors, obviously, they're like Disney's really picky about what happens during their course and what goes on and what kind of content and who's talking and who's not talking. So they were like, look, we're going to teach until 3:30, and then what you guys do after that is totally up to you. So that was my time from 3:30 to 4:30 or whenever the questions stopped to tie in the customer service and marketing into the real estate world.
Interesting. I read a book. What is it? It was a book that Disney. It was written about Disney. What is it called? Like the Magic Kingdom or something like that.
Is it Be Our Guest?
It's not Be Our Guest.
Okay.
Anyways,
Magic Behind the Kingdom or something like that.
Maybe something like that. But it's kind of talked about about the customer service and about how the fact that one of the stories in the book was the fact that the president at the time of Disney was walking down the main aisle and that main row when you get into Disneyland, right? And this little girl dropped something, so he went over and picked it up. And this little girl comes up to him and goes, "Hey, sir, what do you do here?" He's like, "I'm the janitor." And his minions around him going, "Dude, why did you just say to that little girl that you're the janitor?" He's like, "Because all of us wear every hat here. If anyone needs to do anything, we'll do everything." And now they go around, they paint every night. They repaint things so it's absolutely pristine in the morning for the next round of guests to come through the park, and it's just insane. I mean, their customer service. What's some of the stuff that you took away from it at the event when it comes to customer service for maybe just overall just real estate or just life?
So for sure, it was really, for me, it was life-changing. Kind of weird, I guess, because I didn't anticipate, I kind of figured I was going to be there to do some speaking, and, I didn't know how it was going to affect me because I know a lot of it had to do with real estate agent, and being that I'm not a real estate agent, I didn't know how it was going to apply. But the cool thing, the first thing I noticed was that, number one, their customer service, the way they teach it, applies to every business. It doesn't matter what you do. So you could sell flowers, you could sell it doesn't matter. Because as long as you're touching another human being,
you sicko.
What's that?
You sicko.
As long as you're interfacing with another human being, there's a need for customer service. And I think really, really, really what I pulled out of there was he told a story about, so in the Tiki Room in Disneyland, there's this I don't even know what it is, but they showed a couple videos. And when Disney was going through and having everything architected and doing all the stuff, they had these birds, these, I guess they were parrots. And they constructed the parrots to talk, right? So when you would go through, they would sing and the mouth would move. Mm-hmm. And I guess the wings would go at different points. And when Walt walked through, he said to the engineer, "That's not real enough. I don't see his chest moving. Like when you look at a parrot, when they squawk and squeal, their chest needs to move. And the guy basically said to Walt, like, that doesn't make any sense. That's probably a cost we don't need to incur. People won't notice that. And he said that the difference in his vision and what everybody else saw was that people feel perfection. And, like, that's what I took away from the whole class, because I was like, shit, yes, that's exactly what it is. Like, I never put it, when you come out of, like, if you're with your girlfriend or boyfriend or husband or whatever it is, and you come out of a restaurant, and the dinner killed it. Customer service was off the hook. The music was great. Just everything fell in line. That you get to talk to the chef. Your one-on-one interaction with your date is amazing, and you leave, and you're like, man, that was friggin' awesome. I would give a 65-star review on Yelp if I could, if they didn't go up to 5, right? Mm-hmm. But you never really put your finger on it. But that's what it is. People actually feel perfection, and when it's perfect, it makes you feel differently than when things are just subpar or of the norm. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. I'm thinking right now, I think that kind of summarizes almost everything in life, not just in business.
Sure.
I mean, if you're, like you said, if you're on a date and if the energy just isn't right, well, then, it's not right. When you walk into a house, when you're showing properties, or if you're a buyer and you can just feel that it's off, like the layout's not right or something's funky. Like my girl and I, we walked into a house in San Francisco a couple of weekends ago. And as soon as even before we got into the house, we knew this thing was just fucked up. We're like, it's kind of a jank-ass feel. Dude, I was on for like $2.4 million. They pulled it off because the energy flow wasn't right. And so let's say people are in this predicament right now. Let's say they're going, oh my God, like I feel my business isn't in a perfection mode. Were there any tips on how you could perfect or step down the path of more perfection for your customer service, your lead generation, anything like that?
That's what the whole course was about. So I'm not going to give it away, right? Like I can't give it away. You got to go down to see it. But the key point, I think, was that Disney does something called their touch points. And basically at every step of your transaction, whether it's a real estate transaction, marketing transaction, a restaurant transaction, whatever it ends up being, there's touch points to it. And you have to know what the touch points are in your business. So for example, for you, Greg, mm-hmm. You have listings that you create, right? And so we were designing a timeline of how that happens. So somehow you got the leads, so your website, social media, people watching you on Beers and Calls, this podcast, whatever it ends up being, all of those are different separate touch points. And if you were to survey your client after the process was done, how would they grade those touch points? And actually, how would you grade them yourself? Like the process starts with you grading them yourself. So you get to the point where you're like, okay, my listing presentation, how was it? So I have all those touch points. Did I show up in a nice car? Did I look the part? Was I in a suit? Was I wearing the right clothes? Did I match up with the parents, with the kids? Was the listing presentation smooth or did I stutter? Like there's so many things. Did I forget to leave out a part about my videos and photos? Each one of those is a touch point throughout that process, and you could look back and say, oh, shit, I never mentioned the whole thing about how I have a contractor that can help them fix their roof, So that would be, in your world, you would look at that and say, that's a negative. In that touch point there would be a negative, and how do I fix that? So they have basically green, red, and yellow touch points. The red are not good. You need improvement. The green are things that separate you from your competition, and the yellow is room for opportunity. And so when you design that process and roll all those touch points out, it gives you a better idea as to how to service the client better. So the one thing they kept saying, which I thought was great, is the instructor, who, by the way, we're going to be doing the Marketing RV podcast, and both of the instructors that we had down there have agreed to come on, probably at different times. Oh, this dude, Bruce Kimbrell, was out of his mind. I mean, I've seen Tom Ferry, I've seen Chris Smith, I've seen Buffini, I've seen Tony Robbins. No shit, this guy was right up there with him. His delivery, how quick-witted he was, the stories he told. Like, it was just amazing. He had us laughing and tearing up the whole time. It was so much fun. It really was a lot of fun.
That sounds amazing.
It was great, dude. I'm telling you. It was great. And I can't give away all the secrets, but I know that there were, 30 people that came out of that room, 25 to 30 people, that all had serious things that they were going to take a look at back at their in their offices. There were people from all over the country. We had a single agent who was brand new that hadn't done a transaction yet, all the way up to the number one Century 21 real estate agent in the country. Like, it was completely, yeah, dude. We had the number one ERA agent there.
Dude.
Single agent, 144 transactions last year.
Dude,
by yourself.
That's a lot of work to be doing 144 transactions, no matter what marketplace you're in, by yourself, obviously with assistance. But, I mean, that's an insane amount of work. Let's dive deep a little bit into kind of perfection. Is there something that you took away that you're going to put into your own business out of that thing? Or are you just an omnipotent God-like figure?
No. Exactly the opposite. So here's what happened. So day one, it was I don't get nervous when I speak, right? So I do a lot of that. I've talked to a lot of agents, and for me, it's just second nature. It's not a big deal for me. I know that when I leave, 99.9% of the people that leave that room loved it, because I drive a lot of humor through really good ways of looking at things outside the box. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I just have plenty of experience in people critiquing my style, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have to understand, for this one, I was seeing the course for the first time. So for me to have to train and tie all the course material together at the end of the day without knowing what the material was, or at least not completely knowing, I had some prep work to do ahead of time. But that was the first day was extremely nerve-wracking. Like, I just was like, okay, I'm getting up on stage. And I have no idea what I'm doing.
Those are like nightmares. I've had nightmares like that. Like, you're going to go speak somewhere, and you're like, oh, shit, what am I going to talk about? And then everyone's staring at you, and you're like,
So wait, you want to hear something really weird that you're saying that?
Of course.
I don't ever have nightmares like that, and I typically don't dream. I think because I don't sleep real well. But for the 3 weeks prior to me going to this thing, and I don't know if it had anything to do with going to it, but I was having these nightmares where I was a comedian, and I kept bombing. Like, I would go on stage, and they'd be like, ladies and gentlemen, Gene Volpe, and the place would go nuts, and I would go on stage with no friggin' material and bomb it. And I kept getting the dream sequence. Like, Tuesday night, I dreamt about it, and I dreamt about knowing I was going on stage but never actually got to the stage. And then it was each dream was further along in the process until I completely bombed. And my wife was like, are you nervous about this event? And I'm like, I don't think so. But I don't know if that's my subconscious telling me you better get your shit together. I don't know what it was. It was weird.
Yeah, my dreams are always fucked up, no matter what it is. But let's. So it's interesting that we're talking about perfection. Is that, I think a lot of us, we all go the ups and downs of the roller coaster of life, right? And it's interesting. Did you see an awakening in people's eyes when you were there? Like, they were in like this like they were just kind of bumbling along through life, and then all of a sudden they got shocked with a bolt of lightning, and they came out of it energized and ready to go take over the world and kind of reinvent themselves. Take a deep dive look at who and what they're doing, who they are, how they're operating their life, their relationships, and everything else, because they saw for the first time in many years, if not ever, that they were operating lower than they could be operating, and they were encouraged and incentivized to get bigger. I mean, that sounds like kind of what you got out of this thing a little bit.
Well, yes, sort of. But the beginning of that, you started fairly harshly when you said that they were like just muddling around in their everyday life. Everybody that was, well, no, but I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough, because that would have been me. But the agents that were there, even the ones that were still new in the game, had their stuff together. Like, it wasn't. I go places sometimes when I see agents, and I'm like, how does this dude put his shoes on in the morning?
And not hurt himself without a helmet. Yeah,
exactly. And there was none of that there. Like, these were people that just wanted to really learn. They were really and here's the other element too. It wasn't just your normal training class. It was Disney. Like, people are friggin' nuts about Disney. I know there was probably half the room was just there to see Mickey Mouse, not even to learn anything, and the learning was an additional bonus.
So true.
So it was, like I said, I can't give away all the secrets and surprises, but man, I can't wait to go back in February. There's another one in February, and I'm good. She did a survey on whether the people like Gene Volpe or not, and I'm hoping it comes through positive.
Well, I love you, buddy, no matter what.
Thank you,
Tom. When it comes to learning, I've always loved to learn. I truly love to be a student of this industry, and I encourage everybody to be a student. And a funny story is that My girlfriend's mom was in town, like 3 weeks or a month ago now. Time flies. And, my girl, she's an Asian gal. And her mom, the family's big on education and grades and everything else. And her mom, like, chastised me, like, with her eyes when she found out that I didn't graduate college. And she just looked at me like, you stupid ass human being, you bag of bones worth of, piece of shit kind of a thing. And so I'm very proud of myself because I applied myself and I enrolled myself this week into a course with EXP, basically our iBuyers with EXP, which is an insanely amazing course. Any of you EXPers out there, you've got to go sign up for this thing. It's 100% free and it's awesome. Super, super, super cool. And I applied myself, dude. I took like 5 fucking pages of notes here for my exam at the end of this thing. I passed that bitch 100 out of 100. Yes.
Really?
Yeah, 100 out of 100. Now, it was probably built for a third grader, so I'm not going to pat myself too much on the back. But it was still something that I applied and I learned. So, something, Gene, if you were to tell somebody after going through this without actually giving anything away, where would you tell someone to go be a student in life a little bit more? Would it be personal? Would it be professional? Would it be physical? Would it be mental? I mean, where would you see the biggest return after walking away from this?
Personal. So there were just so many things that everything that they did revolved around making people feel an experience that they're not used to. And when that happens, so think about this. This is one of the things they talk about. Disney World. So have you ever been there? You ever been to Disney World?
In Florida?
Yeah.
I think Epcot Center and stuff. I think I was there when I was knee high to a grasshopper.
Okay. So, but you probably don't remember much. But
I don't remember shit.
So couple stats that are crazy. For every one child that crosses through the doors, they're followed by 5 adults.
That sounds like a pedophile,
Your
mecca.
conspiracy theory mind kicked in. I agree with that, except the last time we went to Disney in July, actually the last 2 times we went, I have 2 girls that were there to dance, and they were accompanied by me, my wife, Aunt Donna, Grandmom, Mom, and Dad. Right? So 8 people, 2 of them were kids. So I get it because the grandparents come, everybody tags along, But on top of that, people come from all over the world. Like, it's not just Tallahassee and Tampa Bay. Like, it's people from Brazil and Mexico. And they said the average trip in the United States is $5,000 to go to Disney. Not cheap.
God,
right?
Mighty, that hurts my soul.
I know, but it's not. And listen, I was with people that did some. I'm going to tell you about the VIP experience in a minute.
Oh, Jesus.
But these people, here's what I wanted to get to. These people, especially in other countries, for them to fly from Brazil to here, plus all the stuff, that's probably more like $10,000, right? So people on average save 2 years for a trip to Disney.
2 years?
Yes, because it's so expensive, and they don't claim anything other than that. It's not like what's your cheapest. They separate themselves from everybody, right? But listen to this. You know what their return rate is to the park? If you've gone there once, you know what the chances of you coming back are?
Probably 100%.
70.
70?
Yep. 70% of all the people that come to Disney come back at least a second time.
No shit.
That's crazy, bro. Like they said, you got to think about it. That thing has 4 Disney resorts with hundreds and hundreds of rooms. For 365 days of the year, they're 93% occupied.
That's a ridiculous return.
It's crazy. All right, ready for this? Okay, hold on. I'm going to tell you something. Do you know what the pin collecting trading industry is?
Like the pins you put on your shirt?
They have a lanyard, right? So you walk around the park with a lanyard, and they do pin trading with the cast members. So if you're walking down the street and there's a cast member who has a lanyard on and you see a Donald Duck pin that you like, you go up to the cast member and you trade your pin for their Donald Duck. They pick one from you, you take it and trade it, right? So it's interaction with the cast member. Well, in order to get your pins to start, you buy them, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So when they started this years ago, they sent representatives to the Olympics, and somebody came back and said, we saw these athletes in the cities trading pins. We should try this for Disney. And the VP at the time, Lee Cockerell, said, this is a stupid idea, but we'll try it anyway. So last year, you know how much money they made on pin trading?
100 million?
$450 million.
Holy fuckballs.
So there's something to be said about the experience they create that makes people forget about their whole world. Like, we went into the park and they were showing us, they do this whole thing on their trash cans. They had a special trash can made for just those parks because Walt Disney did not want people to be able to see the trash. So they hired somebody to cover them and put this thing in place. And basically what they figured out was human beings will walk up to 30 paces before they litter. So they have trash cans every 24 feet from each other. And listen, when you walk through the park, it's flawless, dude. As flawless as something that has 2 million people come through it a day could possibly be.
2 million people a day?
Well, that I just made that up. I don't know what their daily number is, but it's probably crazy.
Well, let's just run numbers on that really quickly. 2 million times, I think Paul said it was like 125 a ticket, right?
Oh God,
that's $250 million potentially a day around, that they could make. But at least they're making that at least a week at a minimum. So let's turn this back to real estate really quickly. So let's take the pin trading industry and see what could you do with pin trading in the real estate business. How can you turn this into something that people will walk up to you and say, hey, I like blah, 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 let's trade it back? I mean, is there something that we can work into our daily lives, I wonder, that maybe it's not pins, but maybe it's something else that people will walk up to you and want to trade you for that you are wearing or that you have? Maybe it's a coin, maybe it's a card. I mean, how could this be parlayed? Or just the concept of getting that interaction on the streets. How can you be like you always talk about being the mayor of, your town, talking about the best of series, the best of the Mexican restaurants, the best of the, the coffee shops, the best of whatever's. How can this be parlayed? Was that talked about at all? Or is it just like enamored over the size and scope of pins?
Yeah, no, so the pin thing was like an outlying example, so we didn't really dig into that too much, but they said that basically the point was not so much the pins, although the one thing they made about the pins, which I thought was interesting, was that if you think about it, they set them up as to be what's called an impulse buy. So, and in the stores, they're set up near the registers, like all that stuff. So, like, think about when you go into your grocery store, how much money do you think is made off the gum and the Tic Tacs?
Oh, tons. I buy for 99 cents. You just grab it. Like, fuck, it's 99 cents. I'll grab one.
And you probably grab 4 of them. So every time you go in, it costs you $2 because you're trying to freshen up. If they weren't at the counter when you walked out, you probably wouldn't buy them. No. So the strategy of having them in the places that they are is slick. Number one. Number two, it was more about less about how do we relay the pins into real estate, more about how do we get the experience to be so overwhelming to people positively that there's no way they would ever call anybody else, right?
What?
So
okay, go ahead.
Well, no, I was going to say, like, one of the things they teach you is, and they show you these pictures, when you're in the park and you see a cast member talking to a kid, they're always on their knee. So because they get down to their level. And when you're down at the kids' level, how do you think the parents feel?
They love it.
They love it. It doesn't even matter what people are doing for them and who they're talking to, right?
No.
So they're making that child feel so good about themselves and their experience that the parents will come back. So that's something you could incorporate into your, like, they were giving us out. I think I left it upstairs, right?
Yeah. The thing I like about this the most is that I'm thinking about like small things that we all do and don't do when we go to listing presentations. Who was I talking to the other day? Maybe it was I don't know where it was, but they were talking about the fact that I think I was talking to Bernice Ross or someone, and they were talking about the fact that like they were doing an interview with this just heavy hitter real estate agent, right? Young guy, it's like 100, 200 deals a year. I mean, just crushing, right? And when he did this interview with them, he made a specific point to send flowers to everybody that did the interview with him. And it was that small little touch that everybody stood out and everyone remembered it. And they wanted to continue that experience with this individual because he made them feel appreciated, loved, worthwhile, and the whole 9 yards. And I mean, myself personally, I know that I drop that ball all the time. And I know I could be a lot better at it, but I, for some reason, don't. And I think a lot of us drop that ball. When you have a good interaction, even if you don't get the listing, Send a little card with some flowers and well wishes to the people that you were going to work with. Send a little note to the other real estate agent. Hey, man, good luck. You got the listing. Congratulations. If I can do anything to help you out. Small touches like that, instead of holding on to that hatred and anger that a lot of us love to hang on to for some dumb fucking reason. I don't understand why we like to do that, but we don't express love enough and gratitude enough. It's just seems like it's a cycle of shit that consistently we consistently put out there. But it seems like your experience down with Disney really kind of brought out, hey, bring the positive thing, work with people at their level with the kids and the characters. People walk 30 steps for garbage, great. Put it every 24 steps, great. So you made it easy for people to enjoy the experience. When real estate agents, for the most part, I think we make it pretty friggin' hard for our clients to enjoy the experience, because we expect them to know what we're doing, even though they don't do it every day. We do, and we don't take the time to explain it to them, right?
So, yeah, 100%. And that's part of a lot of the stuff we talked about, where we were saying, and that's where I came in, I think, for a lot of it, was like I kept reminding people, and they said it during the class, like, it's great that you're great at all these things, but 90% of what you do is behind the scenes. Like, people see, because we did a lot of talking about FSBOs. I'll list it myself, because I don't, the other thing we do is we ripped down some stereotypes. So I posted, did you see my post a couple weeks ago about give me some stereotypes that when you think about real estate agents?
Yeah.
So we pulled a lot of that stuff together and figured out some ways to actually figured out ways to suppress those and change them. And a lot of it was stuff you and I have been talking about for the last 2 years, which is advertise the things you do. So in other words, every little element along the way of stuff you do behind the scenes, when you're calling the appraiser 17 times and you're actually out at the houses setting up the video and photo shoot, and all the things that you do behind the scenes that make it worth your while are not things that these people will see, and they think, why do I need to give somebody 5 or 6 or 7% to do this when I can just do it myself? All they're doing is sticking a sign in the ground.
Yeah.
So, and even Disney kept saying that the same thing, like, we're very good at showing people how we make them feel. And if you figure out a way to do that, here's the one thing he kept saying that I thought was brilliant. They have no competition. He said, I can't afford to have competition. That's Disney. Right? So they put it so, right? And that's what I said. I was like, that's actually brilliant. And you can't compare Disney World with nothing against anybody else, but great flags, right? They have one spot. It's a great park. It's not Disney.
No, and I'm thinking like Knott's Berry Farms or something like that. It's like one or two parks, and that's it. And there you go. And if you can't, I think that's going to be the quote of the show. You can't afford to have competition. Yeah. So how do you distinguish yourself to a level that humanizes yourself without being braggadocious? Like, I'm number one agent. Look at me. I'm so cool. Yada yada. Here are all my awards. I don't think people really give a shit about that anymore. They used to. They used to really care about all the awards. I mean, in our office, when we had an office, our whole top shelf was just littered with award after award after award after award. Got kind of annoying, actually, to see all the awards. Now, people, they want to know that you're like them, right? They want to know that you work hard, you're honest, you're ethical, you're a human being, you put your pants on one leg at a time, you take a dump once a day, you know what, you have problems, you have bad things, you have good things and everything else, right? But you're going to prioritize them over anything else. So what do you think about an agent? This would be where you would come in, taking their cell phone, right? Not hard. Taking a compilation of videos of them up at night, going over negotiations, filming themselves. Hey guys, all right, we're here at the inspections. We're going to see what we get. Blah 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 blah. Right? And then putting all these together, and then pushing that out. How would you push that out so people would be aware of what they do? Would it be in a compilation with music, kind of showing how it goes? Would it be one after another in a series? How would you get that out there so people would see the hard work?
Well, I would need to see the before I answer that question, I would need to know who it was, and I would want to see the content first, right? Like if this person was a funny guy or a funny girl and there was ways to put it to music and do these quick clips, that'd be cool. Some people might be really professional, and it's, you know what I mean? Like it depends on their persona and how they're pushing it. It would depend on who they are and what they would do. But I'll tell you this, there was a guy down there. Shout out to Shane.
What up, Shane?
What up, Shane? From OKC. Him and his wife are there. Great people. And he said to me, What do you think about me doing like a real world, but through real estate, just having the camera on all the time during my daily activity? And I said, I think that's probably a little too much. However, if you looked at your week and said, my week this week consists of 5 different elements of the real estate transaction. So Tuesday's the open house, right? Wednesday is the appraisal. Thursday we're closing. Friday we're putting a new listing up, so there's going to be videographers and right, all those things. You could let people know we're going to go live, and it's real estate uncensored. It's real estate straight up, real estate uncensored from the time we get ready. So like think about the appraisal process. Okay, it's me, it's Gene Volpe. I'm getting ready to go out to the 4867 for the appraisal, and we're going to meet John there, and just have the camera running. And I'm like, what's going to happen behind the scenes? I said, yeah, then you got a knucklehead like me that slides in and is cursing and all this stuff. And he's like, that's real life, bro. That's how it works. I'd be fine with it. So I thought it was a good idea from his perspective to pick out certain elements of what you do on a regular basis and then just kind of go live real time and just let it play out.
That's interesting. You ever remember those? I can't remember what TV channel it was, but it's like when they would put people into like super scary situations, and they would mount like a chest harness on them with a camera facing them at them straight in the face, and they'd run around, and shit would never happen, but they would edit it and make it look really scary. I mean, that would kind of be funny if you were walking around with a real camera facing you, and you're like, "Hey, Bob, how are you? How's the inspection?" You got cameras up on both sides of you. I mean, that's all obviously over the top, but I mean, I think that humanizing yourself and really explaining to people, and then building this list of videos, and then putting a compilation together and sending it to different. Yes, Veronica, Fear Factor. Thank you, I appreciate that. But I mean, putting it together and be like, hey, Gene, I look forward to working with you and your wife. I just want to show you a little bit about how much we work for our clients. Here, take a look at this YouTube link. You can kind of see some of how our team operates. And it's in real time. You're sweating. It's late. It's early. It's hot. It's cold. It's whatever it is. But it's not just you sitting around waiting for the phone to ring. And a lot of the times when you watch reality TV, which I was forced to watch that the other day, the New York real estate show, whatever it is, anyways.
Oh, yeah. Listing. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
You know what I'm talking about? And
yes. This
fool's walking around in his like $10 billion, suits, his 8,000 square foot, penthouse, mansion place in downtown Manhattan and everything. I'm like, see, now that gives us a really bad name, because it looks like this fool is just running around being a douche, making tons of money, doing his thing, but they're not showing the hard work. And that's what people want to see. I mean, when I see a contractor that's really dressed up nicely, what the fuck am I going to hire you for? You're not getting dirty. When I see a plumber come in and his hands are all, beat to shit, and he's covered in crap and everything else, not really crap, but covered in, his work, work environment, dude, I'm like, okay, that guy hustles. I want someone who hustles. And a lot of us, I was talking with a guy, Hussein, and we're going to get him on the show. He's going to be on the show in a couple of weeks with us. He's awesome, dude. We had a really good conversation talking about how to leverage other people's networks. How to stand on other people's shoulders and how to really stand out above the crowd, because when you can leverage something or someone, then people will notice you, and they'll notice you for your hard work and the fact that you're going to get your job done. And I have been guilty of this too, so it's not me preaching at anybody. But I mean, I've gotten complacent in regards to, doing some of the stuff I need to do. I want to automate everything in my life, when in reality, you can't automate everything in life. You can't automate relationships. That has to be hard work. And people just don't do that all the time. And I think that's what you're talking about. You're talking about building relationships and doing the hard work.
So let's take it back to what you were saying. Let's take it back. You asked me originally about 20 minutes ago, what would I tell people? What do I tell people, or what do I think that people should do to excel in, like, business? You were saying business, personal. So like for me, this thing that I came out of, while process is important and touch points and all these things that they talk about and are very important, and I think you got to sit down and really look at your business and figure out your marketing schedule and all that stuff. But the end result ends up being the people angle of it, and that is, no matter what you do, if you make the people feel special, they'll remember that. So, like, one of the things we were talking about was being inclusive of all five senses, right? Which makes my job a little difficult because I don't think at any point in marketing, especially online, we'll be able to induce the sense of smell. So I'm already working behind the eight ball, because if you think about the greatest experiences in your life and the worst experiences of your life, they probably all had huge impacts on all five of your senses at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
very, very loud music in a place that smells like shit, and music that you don't like is probably going to be a negative experience, whereas your girlfriend's perfume that you like while you're sitting next to her at a restaurant where the food's cooking, you smell the steak, and you're drinking the best beer, you've invoked all the senses in a positive way, and so therefore that's going to be an emotional experience you'll remember for a long time. It stays with you. And so when you make people feel like that because of how you treat them, they're always going to remember that and come back. And so it doesn't matter what your process looks like. It doesn't matter it does, but in this scenario, Paul Franklin said, I just described the old Boston Garden, and I know he's talking about the negative side, not the positive side. I was running with a couple of Boston guys over the week, this week as well. So, but you get my point, right? So I think it's all about. So my last day there, this sounds so stupid, and I don't know why it made me feel so good. But the last day there, I was running around. Seriously, I'm going to tell you, and you're going to be like, duh. It just maybe caught me so off guard. So we were at the Grand Floridian, and I was walking around looking for some last-minute gifts for the kids, like a couple, bath bombs, some soaps and stuff, like with Mickey on it, just grabbing some stuff. And as I was heading back to the room to finish my packing and grab my bags, I popped into the little store there to get a coffee. And I waited in line for, actually it happened twice yesterday now I think about it. I waited in line for, 2 minutes to get my cup. And you have to buy the cup first, and they give you the cup, and you go fill it up. And I walk up, and the girl, the cast member, the lady behind the things, I said, I just want a large coffee. And she goes, okay, how's your day? I said, it's going great. How's yours? She said, wonderful. She puts the coffee cup down, and she says, thank you very much. And I said, how much? And she goes, no, it's on me today. And I don't know, it just made me smile. Like, I was like, for real? It was a $2 thing, right? But right. I was like, what the and I'm like, thank you. And then actually, now I'm thinking about it, my flight got pushed back almost 2 hours. And I wanted to see my kids, right? I want to see my kids. I want to see my wife. I'd been away for 5 days. I want all that stuff. So I don't throw hissy fits. I'm like, all right, it is what it is. I'm going to plant my ass somewhere and fire up my laptop, answer some emails. I end up watching. So I get to a place. It's called Zaza in the airport. Okay. I sit down. I start to watch this Netflix special by Tom Segura. Write it down. Write this down.
Yeah, you want dyslexic to spell Segura?
It's easy. Segura. But he has a comedy show on Netflix, and it's called Mostly Stories or something along those lines, right?
Okay.
And I was roaring laughing, like howling laughing, but not like keeping it under my breath, because the place I was at, Zaza, was a Colombian coffee house, which actually in the middle of it, after I ordered this coffee, Cafe de Leche, which was brilliant and delicious while I'm watching this, I realized I go around the corner and there's a bar on the back end of this place.
Bonus.
So I'm like, yeah, I'm here for 3 hours. This is going to be great. So I'm sitting next to it. I strike up. This pilot sits down next to me, and he's like, can I just bother you for a second? I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, what are you roaring at? And I'm like, this show. So I tell him about it, and then I go into my Bill Burr and Dave Chappelle, and he's like, thank you so much, dude. I can't wait to get back to the hotel tonight to watch these things, right? So then we board the plane. The coffee was amazing, which I wouldn't have had if the flight wasn't delayed. All these things that happened, right? I caught a negative review on a client's thing, which I would have missed if I was in the air. Like all these things that happen. I get on the plane, they serve the drinks, and I say to the lady, they have those little bottles of wine. So it's a 2.5 hour flight. And I said, give me 2 of them. I don't want to bother you again. I got 2 things of red, $9 a piece. She's like, I said, you take cash or credit? She's like, we only take credit, but I'm not taking anything from you today. And I'm like, what? She's like, listen, we're just giving stuff out for free for the holdup. And I'm like, yo, what's going? Like, this is amazing. So I could have pissed and moaned about the fact that the flight was delayed, right? And I didn't get to see my kids until 8 o'clock instead of 6 o'clock. But none of those cool things would have happened if I wasn't sitting in the airport. I just thought it was great.
No, I'm completely on board with you. When I came back from Hawaii, when Jackson Eddie went and did the Spartan race out there a couple of months ago, dude, like the internet wasn't working, the Wi-Fi wasn't working. It was a 5-hour flight. She and I were just sitting there, just like, what are we gonna do? I guess we're gonna take naps. Like, whatever. We can't watch movies, or we'd watch movies and it'd be so spotty it wasn't even worth watching. And the stewardess came by, and I could have been a complete douche to her, been like, hey, why is this shit working? And throwing a temper tantrum. But I didn't. I'm like, she's like, can I get you anything? I'm like, no, thanks. I just wish the internet would, the Wi-Fi was working. Then I'm like, okay, whatever. I go back to use the restroom, and I say, hey, can I just buy a couple of, shots of Jack Daniels? She's like, no, honey. She called me honey. No, honey. Here's 2 for you. I'm like, all right, what do I owe you? She's like, it's on me. And I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, cool. And then I get another 2 since it's a 5-hour flight. Fuck it, I had 4 shots. I'm a big dude. And I go back and I get 2 more expecting to pay. Never charged me a single dime. And I'm a firm believer in the fact that you are exactly where you need to be in life at this exact second. No matter where you are, what you're doing, when you're in traffic, or if you, Jesus, something's ringing in my ear. I'm just a huge believer in the fact that is a true thing. Can you hear that? Is it just me?
It's just you, man.
I'm hearing things, man.
It's starting to make me nervous. I was watching. You ever watch this episode of Seinfeld? You ever watch that Seinfeld?
No.
Uncle Leo, would somebody pick up the damn phone? He keeps hearing a ringing in his ear, and he's yelling at people. Somebody pick up the phone. Nobody else can hear it.
Dude, it reminds me, my dad was, I was golfing with him last week, and he got himself some new hearing aids. Dude, it's like I think getting old with hearing aids, I think, is the coolest thing ever now, because like your phone comes in through your hearing aids, all your music comes in through your hearing aids. Like, you sit there and just, yeah. Like I'm sitting next to him on the golf cart, and I hear this noise. I'm like, what is that noise? And it's him listening to a radio show that he listens to every day about stocks. And I'm like, what? And, I got really frustrated at him for a second, because I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, I came all the way out here to play golf with you, and all of a sudden you're listening to this stupid radio show. And then I'm like, you know what? Let him do his thing. You know what? Because I can't control him. I can't stop him. He's fucking 69 years old, and he's lived a good life. Let him listen to his fucking stock show, whatever. And I think a lot of us, and no matter if we're in real estate or not, we choose to be upset or we choose to be happy. And it's a conscious decision every single day and every single moment. So if your daughter comes home, with purple hair, well, you could be upset or be like, all right, that's a good looking hair color, kid. Now let's go get the brown dye and wash that shit out. But if you lose a client or something like that, if you don't get a listing, dude, just be thankful for life. Be thankful for what you're going through. Thankful for what you have. I mean, there's a lot of things that I wish I could have in my life that I don't have right now. And I heard a show. I think it was Darren Hardy. I was listening to one of Darren Hardy's Darren Dailies, and he was talking about a story that a gal went to the doctor and said, Doctor, I'm sick. I need to feel better. And the doctor, and she's like, give me something. The doctor's like, I'm not going to give you anything, but I will do this for you. I want you to do this. I want you to, every hour on the hour, repeat, I'm healthy, I'm vibrant, blah, 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 a mantra. Every hour, say it 10 times. She's like, I'm not going to do that, doctor. He's like, yes, you will. That's my prescription. Go do it. Within a week, the woman is feeling better. Within a month, she was better than she'd ever been before, because she changed her state of mind. And so what I've been saying to myself on a daily basis in the last week, and dude, crazy shit has been fucking happening in my life when it comes to this. I repeat to myself as many times as if I'm in the pool, the spa, the shower, wherever, just walking, driving. I repeat, if I don't have anything else going through my mind, I just say to myself, I'm the most financially successful individual that I know, and I'm living the life of my dreams. And I repeat that to myself several times. I love like energy and all that stuff, but dude, things have been falling out of the fucking sky into my lap financially that are just unbelievable since I started saying that on a consistent basis. Now, why do I tell that story? Because a lot of the times what we do as humans is we tell ourselves the negative, the nasty, like I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm fat, I'm no loser, people don't like me, blah, 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 blah. Let the whatever negativity story go, continue. But why wouldn't you, if you could, on a hourly basis, repeat your favorite mantra about yourself and watch what happens in the sky, happens in the universe? Because you're literally, like the universe is out there. It's like an Amazon delivery truck coming to you. What are you going to have delivered to you, right? That's just the cool thing about it. And so we had a guy on the show a while back, and he took his paper. He's like, all right, from here to here is my goals, right? If you guys are listening to this, I'm pointing from one angle of a piece of paper to another. It's like, well, if you're going to take time to get from here to here, why couldn't you just fold them and get there faster? And I'm like, okay, cool, man. How do you do that? And he did exactly what we're talking about. He had an alarm set on his phone every hour, on the hour. He would have an alarm go off, and that would remind him to pick up his goals, open it, and read his goals every hour on the hour. Like, he quadrupled his business. He exploded in his personal life. All the things he wanted started coming to him because he put his mind after it. And I think after you go into the Disney thing, I think that really kind of does that kind of helping you kind of unfold your mind a little bit and like being more aware of what you want and going after it and being specific about it?
A bazillion, gajillion %. You couldn't have said it any better. I think the coolest part about the whole week was that everything was so eye-opening, but here's what it was. Ready? Like, I can't tell you how many times I did this, and this is how I said it. That's so stupid. Like, and what I meant by that is they were giving you the tips and tricks on how to make people feel better about themselves through your service. Mm-hmm. And there wasn't, I was telling my wife last night, I'm like, there wasn't one thing where I was like, well, yeah, you can do that because you're Disney, or that sounds too hard. Everything was like, yeah, I probably should be a better person all around. Like, this should make me want to be, and I'm trying to apply what they have to my kids and to my wife. Like, just some of the training, I'm like, I could do that at home. And I know that my wife would be happier if I did it this way at home. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, it was crazy. There was just it's got me thinking about ways to put my business down. I think I started to tell you this when we were sitting at the round table. Everybody laughed at me. I unconsciously let out a because I started to write. Because here's why. I started to write down a bunch of things. Like, the task was to start writing down a part of the process for one of your services. So I broke out one of my social media services and started to write the process down. And I would write one thing down, and 13 more would pop into my head. And I'd be like, oh, God. And it got so overwhelming for me because I realized how many things that I wasn't doing correctly. Does that make sense?
It makes 100% sense. It's like writing your goals down and saying, be specific on where you want to go in life. And I'm like, okay, I'll totally write down where I want to go in life. I want to go where I want to go.
I do that all the time.
It's the hardest thing ever, and I think what you're talking about is awesome because it's so true. It's like you write one thing down, and then you just open Pandora's box, and the floodgates just go, yep. And all this stuff comes out. And I think that's one of the best things ever because once you start understanding like more clearly on your path, then everything else will just get out of the way. But we live in a remember that a Sandra Bullock movie that came out like either this year or last year when she couldn't like the demons would get her if she opened her eyes, so she put blindfolds all over her kids and everything else. They made like memes coming out of her like all over the place about being blind and can't see and shit. You know what movie that is? Like,
it was called The Blind Side, right?
I thought The Blind Side was a football movie.
Yeah. That's what I thought. Yes, it is. The Blind Side is a football movie. So wait,
no.
Oh, you're talking about the witches?
Yeah, I don't know. Like she had to tie like sheets over her eyes so she couldn't see the things that would come and kill her.
Yeah. Keep going. I'll look it up. Yes.
Somebody
probably posted it in the quotes, by the way.
Probably. But I mean, here's the thing: is that I think we all, me, you included, we all walk around blindfolded when we tell ourselves that we're thinking clearly and our eyes are wide open. But in reality, we have zero fucking clue on how to treat our clients, treat ourselves, and treat our family and loved ones because we aren't clear on anything. But we think we are because we watch reality TV and we feel we're better than the people we're watching on TV. And there we go. So yes. I would challenge all of you out there to take a deep dive, look at your business, look at yourself, look at your interpersonal relationships, look at your client relationships, all of those, and really get clear on where you're going to go. Take the blindfold off and really start seeing what you have out there. Maybe attend this February event, where Gene will be speaking. Monica and Ryan will be running it again, I'm assuming.
Yep.
And and we'll get Monica and Ryan. They've asked to come on the show. I'm going to have them on the show because I wanted to see how this is going to go first, right? And
Yep.
now that it's been proven that it was a really a positive thing, love to blow them up, love to get them on, love to talk about it, so you guys can understand. Bird Box. Thank you, Nikki. It's Bird Box. What is that scared look on your face, Gene?
Yep. I was gonna say the same
Oh, we both froze.
thing for a minute.
Okay, we froze up. Okay, so I don't know what just happened, guys. Sorry. Hopefully we're still airing, but we're still here. We're still loving you. Gene, let's put a bow on this thing. We've almost gone an hour just chattering. Where do people find you?
So you can get me at genevolpe.com. That's where all my socials hooked up. .com. Thank you. That's where all my socials hooked up. That is where my I have the little chat widget box that'll pop up so you can get in touch with me. You can always genevolpe@gmail.com. Can I do something real quick before we go?
Sure, man, go for it.
I want to give a shout out. You know who I want to give a shout out to, right?
Me?
Well, of course
yes,
you.
yeah, absolutely.
No, I want to shout out to my girl Arne Dodd. Check this out. So I made a comment. How cool is this? You can probably see it, right? Can you see it?
Oh yeah, right. Vegas strong, baby.
Right. How cool is that? So I was scrolling through my Instagram feed one night, and I see her painting. Well, I didn't know it was her, but I see her painting this sheet, and I made a comment on Instagram like, "Yo, that's cool. Is that yours? Like, are you doing it?" And she's like, "Yeah, you like it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's awesome." And she goes, "Send me your address. I'm sending it to you." So mad love.
Renee's an awesome human being. I love that girl to pieces. She might be a midget and an Oompa Loompa, but you know what? It's still okay. It's Arne Dodd love.
What is that? You just totally destroyed. I didn't say that.
I did. No, I love her. She's like a pint-sized little human being, but I always joke like she has to sit on phone books to drive the cars, and she has to stand on stilts to see over counters, and she always yells at me for that. But she's got the biggest heart anyone could ever imagine. Okay, you guys, for me, if you guys want to do some coaching and training, feel free and reach out to me. Text me on my cell phone, 925-915-1978. We can do a coaching call. We can also talk about EXP if you guys want to, and kind of the people that are coming over, and kind of this the movement towards kind of this whole virtual thing. There's some just amazing stuff happening over at EXP. So give me a call or text me, 925-915-1978. Gene, pick a color, put a bow on this bitch, and let's take this thing home.
Let's go pink.
Pink? Okay. In honor of Glenn Twiddle, who totally blackhearted on us today, which I'm going to smack my Australian friend around a little bit for not coming on his show that he booked. But he wears a pink tie, so we love Glenn. We love his whole organization, so pink it is. Guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you guys are on iTunes or Stitcher, feel free and give us a 5-star review, please. And then also give a shout-out to Gene Volpe. Put him in the notes for doing such a great job with content. And you guys, hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. Gene and I will see you back here next week. And hopefully we're going to have a great guest. I think we're going to have Hank Avik on next week. So it's going to be a blast. It's going to be a blast. Lots of training, lots of good stuff. So, all right, guys. Love you to pieces. Until then, peace out, ninjas. We're gone.